The top story on ABC News Breakfast today. Labor Party leaders are searching for a compromise on same-sex marriage ahead of the party's national conference, which begins today. The National Right convener David Feeney says his faction decided last night to back Julia Gillard and vote as a bloc in a conscience vote on the issue.
But Right faction member and Rainbow Labor delegate Andrew Barr disputes that claim, saying many are still undecided. Mr Barr and the Finance Minister Penny Wong will move a motion to change the party platform to explicitly support gay marriage.
Political correspondent Melissa Clark joins us now from Canberra. Melissa, this one's become the burning issue now. Now, we don't really know which way the numbers are lining up because they just keep shifting hour by hour, it seems.
And on different parts of the issue, of course, it seems fairly certain that the left have managed to get enough votes from the right to see the same-sex policy change go through. But whether or not MPs will be allowed a conscience vote is now where the big question mark lies. You have the convener of the right, David Feeney, saying the right will vote as a bloc to have a conscience vote, but then you have other members of the right, like Andrew Barr, who are saying that's not his recollection at the end of the meeting of the right caucus of the ALP, and saying that should still be open. And then you have members of the left who are questioning why the right is trying to force people to vote as a bloc on whether or not they should have a conscience vote, and suggesting they should be able to vote for their conscience as to whether or not they have a conscience vote. So it is getting quite messy. There are a lot of last-minute meetings that will be going on right up until this vote takes place and plays out on the floor of the conference on Saturday morning. In the meantime, they're also dealing with the interventions of the likes of Elton John, who was in Sydney yesterday for an event marking AIDS and raising awareness around AIDS, and he managed to get his 10 cents worth in as well.
People have a right to live with dignity. We're all treated equal, and it's about time Australians got the same-sex marriage together as well.
Elton John had a message for delegates to the ALP conference, which is we need to be open about the fact that people exist in terms of different relationships, and love is real. And he had a message about marriage equality tonight. The fact is that our relationships between human beings are diverse. We need to respect relationships regardless of the sexuality of those people in those relationships.
Anthony Albanese, who of course is the leader of our government business in the House. It just seems in this situation and in so many others, Melissa, that whereas in any other situation, in any other party, this would be a discussion about policy and then potentially a discussion about legislation, it always comes back to being a discussion about Julia Gillard's authority.
And it's certainly being painted by that as some. What we have is many on the right who are trying to shore up an outcome that fits with the Prime Minister's own position, that is having a conscience vote. We heard Simon Crean say yesterday the leader must prevail, as something of a warning to colleagues that her position needed to be backed in, despite the fact, as another frontbencher, Anthony Albanese, points out, the fact that the Prime Minister has herself said she wants a real debate and doesn't expect to win all of the votes. So he's suggesting it doesn't matter if Julia Gillard doesn't get her way. But it's this peculiar situation in the ALP that you don't really see in a lot of other political parties, where the power of the National Conference and of the membership body can usurp that of the Prime Minister, which is something that's a little unusual in political circumstances.
Let's quickly spool through, just before we go, a couple of the other main issues that are being discussed at conference. Same-sex marriage seems to be dominating the headlines, but other important issues are there too.
Absolutely. Of course, trying to get some sort of a more agreed position when it comes to the treatment of refugees. The left aren't terribly impressed by Chris Bowen's suggestion yesterday of an exchange of increasing the humanitarian intake in return for supporting regional offshore processing. They feel that's a bargain they're not satisfied with, so that still isn't settled. What we have is the right putting in their votes behind the Prime Minister's position on uranium exports to India, although we've had others indicate, the likes of Stephen Conroy, saying he will vote against the position of the right, even though he's a member. So there's still plenty of division on the uranium issue as well. And then, of course, there's the one with perhaps the most mixed point of views, and that is reform of the Labor Party itself. We will have elements of the Faulkner-Brax-Carr review done after the election suggesting reforms, and I think there's as many positions as delegates on that one, so we can expect that issue to be quite critical for the ALP too.
Thanks, Melissa. Good to talk to you.